Today in this video, we are going to be looking at two chamber vacuums. These are both by Vevor. Previously, I did a video just on this one. This is the DZ260C, but we're comparing that with something that Vevor just came out with. This is the DZ260S. Comes in at $100 cheaper than this one. We're going to look at kind of what the specs, kind of like the capacity of these. If you don't know what a chamber vac is, the kind of best way to explain it is like one of those food saver like vacuum sealer things, but on steroids. These things both have amazing power at getting all the air out, but unlike a vacuum sealer that kind of tries to suck all the air out, a vacuum chamber is different. It kind of just makes a vacuum on the inside of these, and so there is no air left. And so there's no kind of like sucking motion. It's mainly just it forms a vacuum, and once the pressure releases, all that kind of air that's in there gets completely sucked out of the bag. It's almost like, I don't know, to me, I still trip out on how these things work. But now let's go check them out. One thing to talk about it, let me just show you kind of what this does so you get the idea. Put whatever in here. It doesn't even have to be food. I'm going to lift this up. We're going to place this down. To understand kind of what's going on here is this bar right here. This is called your seal bar. This is what's actually going to make kind of like a seal mark. It's going to kind of keep, once all the air gets sucked out, that's going to keep it from air re-entering. How these things work is once it's on, it's going to tell you, oh, this thing's going to do, a 40-second vacuum. It is going to seal for 2 seconds, and it's going to cool down for 4 seconds, and then it's going to kind of dechamberize. And then just to turn this thing on, all I have to do is just hold this down. And then this is now actually creating the vacuum seal. So if you want to look on here, surprisingly, nothing actually really happens until the sealing is done, and you're going to see something crazy happen. So we'll tune back in when this is ready. All right. That's kind of the best way to explain how a chamber vacuum works. There is no air. Even when I, kind of squish him, there is no give. This kind of Donkey Kong is rock hard right now. That sounds kind of weird, but so normally vacuum chambers are usually in the ballpark of $1,000. So it was pretty impressive that Vevor came out with this unit for $350, but for now $250, they have a smaller unit, and that is kind of what we're going to check out today. If you did want to learn more about the bigger one, I will put a link down so you can actually check that out. Pretty much this is going to be just a bigger unit, and then you actually do have this shelf in here if you did want to actually have a little bit more space. You can kind of remove that. But yeah, that very, very simple to use. The one thing I actually kind of like, and I have a few chamber vacuums, but the one thing I really like about this one is the clear lid. Like, to me, I'm like, the funnest part is actually seeing the action. And a lot of these companies are putting like these dark lids on. It's like, okay, maybe it looks a little bit more sleek. To me, I like having the thing where I can like look in and be like, oh, come on, you got to admit, that was the coolest thing, getting to see this thing. So for these other ones, it still has like you can still see through it. It's just not, I like kind of having this like beautiful, like HD look into what is being vacuum sealed. So again, you want to check this out, I will post another video, but now let's check out the smaller model. This is brand new to me, don't have any experience using it yet. So when it comes to storing it, the one thing with this one is this has like this hinge system, and this automatically kind of goes back to open. And so you do have this latch system that kind of holds it into place. There's sometimes kind of when transporting, like it's kind of a pain in the butt. I wish this did kind of stay closed on its own. The other thing about the bigger model is this thing, no joke, it's heavy. It weighs like 60 to 75 pounds. So to try to be like, we're going to vacuum seal some stuff, I'm kind of like, can we do any other option? Like, I would probably say that's, oh my God, I'd probably say, almost died here. I'd probably say it's about half the weight. To me, having it being easy to transport, that's kind of huge too. So that being said, let's plug this in and let's try it out. All right, so in the back right here, we're gonna plug this in, and I'm gonna turn this on. So you can kind of cycle through the settings here. This one, the vacuum, you can adjust the vacuum chamber time that you want. For sealing, you can adjust like how long you want that sealing bar to turn on for. You can adjust the cooling, whether you want to raise or lower it. All right, so round two. Let me get this guy, if we can, into this bag. I have no idea what kind of creature this is. Looks Minecraft related, but who knows? My kids are going to be like, "What did you do to? What did you do to our toys?" You can take this out if that makes it easier. That it looks like it does. And now, unlike the other one, how this works is you're going to close this, and then you're going to hit the start button down here. So right now, I'm going to hit start, and so now it's that you can tell this lid is kind of closing down, and so now this thing is going under kind of vacuum chamber, and you can see here on the dial kind of like eventually you want to be able to get into the green. So I know that next time if I'm vacuum sealing kind of like the same thing, I can already then start backing off on the time just because we're already in that good kind of green range there. It is going to go down to the sealing, which I think we set at, about 2 seconds. Now it put the seal on that. It's now cooling. And so up here, I don't know if you can see it. Again, it's harder to see through that thing, but kind of goes in there. And I believe, all right, so that's, I don't think it's going to beep or anything like that. So now we can like lift this up, and there is. As you can see, it does just the same amount of good job as far as getting a really nice vacuum chamber. There is no oxygen left in this bag. So it definitely did a good job at getting a very, very tight seal. So the main difference you want to kind of ask yourself is kind of like, do you need the bigger size? And if not, definitely the smaller one for about 250 bucks is an awesome, awesome price, just because they used to cost like $1,000 back in the day. One thing to note is these do both require oil, so I'm going to show you kind of what came in the bag. You're going to have this kind of like, basically this is the oil that it's going to take, and I would say when to use it. There is actually a thing in the back where you can actually look through, and there's kind of like an oil gauge, and then you can know when to actually fill that up. If you're ever running into issues of like, oh, it's not kind of getting a tight kind of vacuum, it probably needs more oil. And then from there, you are going to have a power cord. You're going to have more of that material that is going to go over that sealing bar. This is kind of cool. It actually gives you another seal for when you're actually doing the chamber vac. If that seal breaks, you have a replacement part there. You have more. This is going to be for when you're actually putting this on if you need to replace it. They actually also included some bags here so you can actually start testing it out. That's very, very cool. The bigger one actually didn't come with bags. And what I do like about these bags is you do have like some perforated lines on here, so you don't need a knife or scissors when trying to get that open. And it looks like you do have an Allen wrench, and that's probably going to be, to open up the back so you can fill it up with oil. And then you do have another fuse thing in here that if the fuse does ever go out on this, you have a replacement fuse there. So let's go look at the back right now. So I'm curious to kind of what this looks like on the back. After you take that screw off, there's 2 other screws in the front, and then you can actually lift this up. Here, you're going to have a glass sight right here, and that is going to tell you if you actually need more oil or not. And then what I really like about this one is you can actually just put oil into here, and you are going to be good to go. This is what the inside of a chamber vac looks like. So I pretty much picture, if you're actually interested in the smaller one, I think this would actually be really good for if you're into sous vide cooking. You'll literally take your steak, you can season it up, salt, pepper, you can put a little olive oil in there, put it under vacuum chamber, and then the cool thing is you can cook it. They have those machines that like bring the water up to a perfect temperature. Pretty fun to try, but if that's your thing, if sous vide cooking is your thing, definitely this thing would be a game changer for that. So if I actually had to get rid of one of these, I would probably end up keeping the smaller one, just because the weight is so, like, it's one of those factors that you really don't think about. Trust me, bigger is better, but unless you have a dedicated spot, and these things take up a lot of space, it's not like they're small, unless you have a dedicated spot for this, putting it away and bringing it out, the small chamber vac is going to be good in my bag. I don't think you're going to find a better deal on a price. And I think if you use Vevor 5, I think you get an additional 5% off. So super, super cheap. I will put all the links in the description so you can check it out. If you want to know a little bit more about what you can vacuum seal, I will post a link to this video. If you don't have a vacuum chamber, these are definitely 2 options to check out. Thank you guys for watching. Any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Grill Sergeant out.